I hope that everybody had a wonderful week full of bracha. In this week's Parshat Chayeh, the transition, the handing of the baton from Avram and Sarah to Yitzchak and Rivka, Eliezer goes to Haran to find Avram's family to pick a wife for Yitzchak. Eliezer tells Rivka's father, Besuel, that he had divined a whole test to figure out, to discover who would be the appropriate girl to marry Yitzchak. After telling Besuel the whole story and all its miraculous factors, so Besuel says, wow, that's the craziest story I've ever heard. Me'Hashem yatsa davar. This is clearly from God, and I can't intercede. And of course, Rivka should go and marry Yitzchak. However, the next morning they wake up, and when Eliezer is ready to leave, they say, okay, wait a second, let's ask Rivka if she wants to go. Now, of course, this is very proper. This is very appropriate that they should ask Rivka if she actually wants to get married. But what happened last night, Besuel said, of course she has to go. This is so clearly from God and so clearly divine. And now in the morning, all of a sudden, Besuel's like, let's ask her. Why didn't last night they say already, let's ask her, if they were so proper and so appropriate in order to do the right thing and ask her if she wants to get married? So if we study this parsha, we see a very important phenomenon in the building of the Jewish people. That when Eliezer chose a test to discover who Yitzchak would marry, the test was very clearly about chesed. What kind of chesed would she believe in, would she prioritize? Why was this so important? Because of course Yitzchak and Rivka would build their own legacy. They would contribute their own characteristics. They would insert into the future of the Jewish people certain traits that would be important for their survival and that would be identifiable as the Jewish people. But before they contributed their own traits, they had to make sure to build on what Avram and Sarah already did. Of course, Eliezer had to have a test that involved chesed, because he wanted to make sure that the girl that was going to marry Yitzchak already had mastered what Avram and Sarah mastered. In fact, if you look at the words that Avram tells Eliezer to go find a wife for Yitzchak, he says, go el artzi vel moladti. Those words ring familiar from when Avram lech lecha me'artzecha mimoladtecha, from when Avram went from Haran to Eretz Canaan. And perhaps this also explains why Avram Davka wanted a wife from Haran, because as far as Avram knew, also explains why Avram Davka wanted a wife from Haran, because as far as Avram knew, his family were Ovdei Avodah Zarah. So why did he have to specifically get away from there as opposed from away from Canaan? The girls in Canaan were Ovdei Avodah Zarah, and the girls in Haran were also Ovdei Avodah Zarah. But Avram wanted somebody who could also pass the test of Lech Lecha, because this was part of the ingredients that he added to Bnei Yisrael, and he wanted to make sure that whoever would marry Yitzchak would already be holding in the test that he already passed. So he wanted somebody not from Canaan, not a homegrown girl, but rather somebody who would have to leave her father's home the same way that he left his father's home. And perhaps this explains why specifically Hashem orchestrated it in such a way that they asked Rivka if she wanted to go, because this had to be her choice of leaving her father's house. And if you look at the language, so they ask Rivka, do you want to go? She doesn't say yes or no, but rather she says, Eilech, I will go. Eilech, I will take the baton. I'm ready to build on what Avram did. I'm already holding in the same midos. I already have the foundation that Avram and Sarah started building. And this is why when Yitzchak saw Rivka, he was comforted for his mother, because he found somebody that already held the traits and passed the nisyonos that Avram and Sarah already did. Like the Gemara in Baba Kama says, the madbeya of Avram Avinu. There's an older man and an older woman on one side of the coin, and a young man and a young woman on the other side of the coin. Rashi says that's Avram and Sarah and Yitzchak and Rivka, two sides of the same coin. We all are also being passed the baton from Avram and Sarah and Yitzchak and Rivka and the other Avos and Imahos. In order for us to properly contribute to Klal Yisrael, in order for us to make a meaningful contribution, it can only be based on the foundation of what those before us had already built. If we're standing on their shoulders, not starting from new, but if we're building on what our fathers, our grandfathers, what they already contributed to Bnei Yisrael, if we're holding in the standards, in the foundations of the Jewish people, so then we can make meaningful contributions, which is what our responsibility is living in this time. Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us the knowledge and the understanding of the principles of what Yahadus stands for, so that we can make a meaningful contribution to the Jewish people and to the entire world. Have a good Shabbos.